So Asics Nimbus has been around for 25 years now, and personally I thought the past couple years it started to feel a little dated, but in the latest edition we get more foam, more sustainability, and more fun. I've done a few runs in the Nimbus 25, and I'm ready to give you my first impressions. First up, a quick disclaimer that Asics did send me these shoes for the purpose of review, but these are all my own opinions, and they're not forcing me to say anything. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the specs. So this shoe has a stack height of 41.5 millimeters in the heel and 33.5 in the forefoot, giving it a heel-to-toe drop of 8 millimeters. The weight comes in at 10.2 ounces and a men's size 9. Price is the same at $160, and I put this in the cushion daily trainer category. Let's go ahead and talk about what's new in the shoe overview. Starting with the upper, it now has an engineered knitted mesh. It has the same stretchy knit tongue that was found on the Nimbus 24, but it's shortened a little bit, and it has a very plush heel collar and a stretchy pull tab. The midsole uses Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco, which contains 20% bio-based material. In the heel, it has a sheet of new lighter gel embedded in there called Pure Gel, and this is to help absorb some shock when landing. It gets an extra 4 millimeters of stack in the heel and 6 in the forefoot compared to last year. The outsole gets Asics High Abrasion Rubber Plus, AHAR Plus, in the heel and uses Asics Light Rubber in the forefoot. Again, the whole shoe uses sustainable and recycled materials, including the outsole. Talking about fit, I found it to fit true to size. The one slight issue I did have with the rocker is I feel like my toe would slide towards the front a little bit, but I never jammed in the front or caused blisters or losing toenails or anything. So to me, true to size works, but some people might maybe want to go up half a size. Other than that, I thought I had a great midfoot lockdown and a superb heel lockdown. I was a little worried with kind of this newness going on back here, but it was fantastic. And then I thought it was spacious in the forefoot, not too roomy or baggy, but just super comfortable. Moving on to the ride of this shoe, it has a slight rocker to this thick midsole, so I found that the heel to toe transitions were super smooth. It does have this really nice wide platform, so it made the shoe feel very stable. And that Flight Foam Plus Eco Foam was still nice and plush and cushioned, but also had a little bit of responsiveness to it as well. The few runs I've done in it so far have mainly been just kind of easy runs, everyday training runs, and the longer runs. And honestly, after every run, my shoe has been very happy and glad that I picked this shoe. I was a little worried that the tongue wasn't going to have enough padding and that the ankle collar would have too much padding. But honestly, once I put it on foot, it all worked well together and just disappeared and felt great. Just one quick note about how I use this shoe. It's more of a daily trainer, I'd say, and a lot of people use the Novablast as a daily trainer. People think that they have too many similar use cases, and I don't agree with that, and I'll dive more into that in the comparisons. Speaking of comparisons, the first shoe we're going to compare it to is the Brooks Glycerin 20. So the Glycerin and the Nimbus have been longtime rivals as the premium plush cushion trainer from Brooks and Asics. And the 20th version of the Glycerin got a pretty big update with the new midsole foam. And like we've been talking about, the 25 of the Nimbus obviously got a big transformation. So I thought it'd be interesting to see how they compare nowadays. I thought that the midsole of the Glycerin was a little firmer but maybe just a little more responsive, but it isn't really rockered, so I didn't think the transitions were quite as smooth, while this one feels a little more plush overall, a little more built up, and just kind of that smoother transition. So I gave my workhorse of the year to this Glycerin last year, just for logging everyday miles. The shoe held up great, and I don't think that's going to be the case for this year, though. I think that the Nimbus is really stepping it up, and so far, it's looking good for sealing that title this year. Overall, I think these are both great high-cushioned workhorses, but the Brooks is feeling a little more outdated now, while the Nimbus feels like what you'd expect in this maximal era. Next up is a shoe a lot of people have been asking about, is the ZoomX Invincible from Nike. So this shoe, I enjoyed it for, a lot of the same use cases as I do the Nimbus. the daily training, some of those longer runs, things like that. But I thought the shoe itself, the geometry was a little weird. The heel of the Invincible is super built up, and as I put more and more miles on this, I felt that the cushioning under the forefoot got less and less. So it kind of turned into a wedge with a super overbuilt heel and a thin forefoot. I have not had that issue with the Nimbus. It feels very cushioned under the forefoot. That rocker makes it feel very smooth. It doesn't feel overbuilt in one part compared to the other. So I'm excited to see how this lasts with more miles on it. I think these are both good, very cushioned, very stable trainers, premium and plush, but I do find that ZoomX in the Invincible is just more bouncy. But again, I think that the little firmer foam in the Nimbus makes it a little more stable too, so there's some trade-offs there. Now we're finally getting to the Novablast 3 comparison. So these shoes do have a lot in common. They both have Flight Foam Blast Plus. They have pretty similar stack heights, but they are different in the sense that this shoe is much lighter, much more nimble. I'd say it's more of an up-tempo trainer, while the Nimbus is a little more built up. It's a little heavier, but it's designed to be more of that workhorse that can take a beating. So I think both can exist independently. If you're somebody that likes the lighter shoes to train with, like something a little more up-tempo, you'd probably want to go with the Novablast 3. If you're someone that is maybe a little heavier or just likes more stability and more protection, you might want to go with the Nimbus. Or if you're like me, I find that they can both fit in my lineup. Again, for some of my quicker runs, use the Novablast, and some of those slower, longer runs, use the Nimbus. But if you're somebody that wants something that can do both, I think that the SuperBlast is a really good combination of the two. It has that really high stack height, so you get a lot of cushion underfoot, but it's super light like the Novablast 3, and you get that nice rocker, and it feels good when you're picking up the pace. So if you're trying to decide between the Nimbus and the Novablast, you might want to look at the SuperBlast that can kind of fill both those needs. So Asics essentially took their Nimbus Lite and combined it with their regular Nimbus line and created this new modern Nimbus. It still feels cushioned and premium like the Nimbuses of the past, but now I'd say it fits in more to that maximal high cushion trainer era with crazy stack heights that we're living in nowadays. So I want to hear from you. Are you excited about these big changes in the Nimbus 25? Are you maybe a little bit skeptical? Go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. I still have more miles to put in the shoe, different run types to run it through, and then I'll give you my final verdict in my full review. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that review, and as always, keep on running.